Good morning. I'm very glad that I have the opportunity to open this event. I was actually thinking that the event will be opened by my colleague and friend, Zoran Petrović, and he is listed in the program, who is the chief of our department for engineering. But I found out that he is in the United States, just now. So he is sending his best regards to us, and he wishes all the luck, and he is with us in his mind. And it was just, he had to go to a meeting, so I apologize for me opening the meeting instead of him. I'd like to welcome you, first of all. I'm very glad that our president of the Academy of Sciences, Professor Vlada Kostić, is sitting here in the front row, and thank you very much for coming. I want also to give my best regards to Tadej Bajd, president of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences. So we have two academies of science from something which was former Yugoslavia. We're going to be talking about Raјka Tomovиќa today, who is a man from Yugoslavia. So that makes me very happy. I would like to welcome Professor Zoran Popović, who is the vice president of the Academy of Sciences. And this is not to say that I don't want to welcome all of you. I would love to see more young faces here, but it is Friday, and it's early in the morning, and there is, like usual, a lot of interest for things where you cannot benefit at the same moment. So, without much other to say, I will introduce Professor Tomovich shortly in this, I think, 12 slides, and I'll present you the program, and then we will have a very short, it's not going to happen, probably it will, sorry. Here it is. That's fine, thank you. So, and then we'll have just a few minutes, and then I'll talk again. And then we have a short break, and then I will talk again. So, and then I will talk again. So I hope that I wouldn't take too much of your time. And so, that's a typical thing. But I love to talk. That's the reason that I decided to go into the education program. I actually wanted to go into theater, but my talent for theater is not good enough. Maybe you cannot hear me very well. Is that what you said, Sanya? No. Can you hear me when I speak without the microphone, or I need a microphone? Microphone. Okay. Now, let me go through some of these links. The first thing is you can see Raјko Tomovich, and this is he when he was about 65 years old. He died when he was 80, and he died instantly. I remember very well, and I will start from that. In January that year, we had a visitor in Belgrade, and this was a world-known scientist who is himself a bilateral amputee. Hugh Hare is his name. And Hugh Hare, as I said, bilateral amputee, head of the artificial limb laboratory at MIT, came to visit. While visiting, he saw me in the corridor, says, "Do you know this Popović guy?" I says, "Yes, I know." Says, "This is the book that I bought. It's an excellent book. Can I meet him?" I said, "Sure, this is me." So then I asked him, and he came to the class that I was teaching in biomedical engineering, and he came and he gave a talk. And at that same talk, Professor Tomovich joined the class. So he was talking about artificial legs. Tomovich is sitting among students, a little older than they are, and we enjoyed it. So when Hugh Hare finished his presentation, Tomovich said, "What are you talking about? This is known for years. I did it 30 years ago. You should ask me. Why are you doing research? This doesn't make any sense." And I looked down and thought, maybe that's not a very good approach to do, but that was it. It's the output of that is that Hugh Hare says, I actually looked into some of your work, and I would love that you come to MIT and give a series of lectures at MIT, presenting on what you did and how you did these things, because this would be of great interest for MIT. And I will talk with my friends and colleagues from University of Southern California, where this is your home base. So you can probably go also to that place, and you can actually do a lot of that. So this is how Tomovich was reacting to things. Of course, he wasn't that intensive in his approaches when he was younger, but at 60s and 70s, very much like other people who do not have a high level of tolerance, they are very say, precise in what they think, and they want to bring that to other people. So, without much further, just to tell you a few facts, and I wouldn't go into his biography. You have his biography. there is a program that you have here, and all of you who are interested in the street Jakšićeva 2, so just around the corner, you can go to the exhibition, and if you go to the exhibition, there is a catalog, and if you take the catalog, you can read these lines about his biography if you're interested in that. Whatever, he was born in 1919 in Baja, which is in Hungary, and he was in a high school in Sombor. He had a brother who was an excellent student. He did very well there. And then when he graduated, he came, and this is his photograph, when he graduated high school. So this is he at the age of 19. With his little strange picture that we have. I didn't have a better quality, but I like it very much, and it shows his interest looking deep in the future to see what will come. So he came to the university. The war, Second World War, started in the territory of Balkans, and there was a break in the organization of the Communist Party, and he was immediately captured by police, Gestapo. He ended up in a jail here. He was transferred to Trepča, terrible concentration camps, which left traces on his behavior and his lifestyle. That also killed his stomach, because he had problems when he was eating throughout the life because of these things that happened in the Second World War. There was a runaway from Trepča concentration camp, and then he joined the partisans against whoever was fighting here. And as a result of that, he started to be involved into some politics, but not really professionally. He was never involved into any real professional function in the political system, although he was extremely influential at all levels, which you can go, if you go to the exhibition, you can see him sitting and talking with our President Tito and telling President Tito that that's not the way to run the country, that you actually need to have a different style, because if you let things go like they will go on their own, then we will not reach our targets. Anyway, he came to the university, graduated engineering, and very soon after that, in '53, he was one of the first who got the PhD degree from the Academy of Sciences, because at that time the university wasn't giving degrees in technical sciences. And at that time, he was working mostly on analog computers. There's another good story about analog computers. When he was designing an analog computer, it was built in the building of Faculty of Electrical Engineering, and they were bringing pieces, and finally he got an analog computer, and then it needed to be transported into Vinča Institute. And when they needed to transport, they figured out that this machine cannot go through the door. So they expanded the door so that it can go through the door. But then it turns out that it cannot be moved because it's too heavy. So at the end, they actually put it in pieces and parts and brought it to Vinča, where it was never put together. So that was an excellent development of a computer. These things are occasionally happening now, these days, in our country, where the project has not really brought to an end, but rarely. Anyway, so working on computers, he ended up working on a project that was given by the government, where the first digital computer, which has the acronym CER, C-E-R, where these letters are for a digital computer. There was a CER-10 computer. This was the first digital computers built in between Vinča and Pupin Institute, and it was basically run by Professor Tihomir Aleksić, who is the fourth from the right in this photograph, and Tomović is sixth from the right in these photographs. They built the computer. This computer was one, obviously, the powerful computer that we have in the country. It was exported to Russia. It was used for military purposes, it was used for governmental purposes, and it was used as a seed for development of a computer line in Pupin Institute. And that was an excellent development, which ended up with many, many computers that were used in all kinds of control systems in our country. So a fantastic development which was done. At that time, Yugoslavia, and this computer was we were one of the 5 countries in the world who could make a computer like that. And I think that this was partly because the money was coming from both East and West, because we were a tampon zone between East and West. And through that, the money was there. We got components from the United States of America, which was not a friendly country to a communistic country. This changed in the meantime. Now they're even worse opponents. But at that time, they actually supported us with parts and pieces, and they wanted that this technology is distributed actually to East, so they knew perfectly well, once we built the computer, that they will go to Russia, so they had this interest. but that's a political issue that I wouldn't go much in. What Tomović is best known for is the Belgrade Hand. So Belgrade Hand was developed at a time when there was a great need for artificial extremities because there was a medication that was given to pregnant ladies to prevent their problems and drowsiness and other things. That ended up that children were born without extremities, and the world was running around in building artificial extremities. And part of that development and money for that came. And this is the first 5-fingered hand with sensory feedback that was built in Belgrade. That was first were built in Pupin, and then the company Teleoptic built another 50 of those. And Belgrade Hand, as you will hear in other stories, actually played a fantastic role in developing many things, including development of artificial intelligence that was happening in '68 by Marvin Minsky and others at MIT. Belgrade Hand played a role in movies, that it was a hand attached to a wheelchair going around and killing people. So very good use, prosthetic arm. So it was, then it was displaying things in the Lafayette Gallery, then it was doing all kind of other things which are like that. The hand was actually designed, the mechanical design, which is the greatest thing in a hand, was by Professor Miodrag Rakić from the same department, a colleague and friend of Tomović, just 2 years younger. And Rakić did a fantastic job in the hand. So whoever wants to see the hand, he can see one hand which is sitting in the exhibition hall in the gallery, but there is a much better hand, actually, in the Museum of Science and Technology. This one has actually the motor, and you can see how it works. But the director of the museum had some problems in actually getting this prosthesis to our exhibition, so we decided to show a little less attractive, but still a fantastic example of the hand. So Belgrade Hand was designed in the '60s. The work continued in Pupin Institute in developing an artificial arm. This work was done by some excellent people, but the work, in a way, stopped, and it moved to the locomotion and standing, and that's the time when Vuko Bratović came from another institute in a walking story. Tomović started the walking story by introducing the finite state control, a model for the multi-legged machines, and this is the first 4-legged machine which is walking. It's called Phony Pony. That's the work that he was doing together with Bob McGee at University of California. And what they did, and what they actually succeeded to do, is this machine is using only one principle for locomotion. The leg is either in air or on the ground, so 2 states. And since there are 4 legs, you need to have the surface of support that will make the machine stable. What you can see in the left corner down, it's a Hexaput machine. This Hexaput machine was the continuation of a 4-leg machine, and it was used heavily, and there was a competition between Russia and Japan and Europe in who's going to make a better Hexaput machine, which will be used for moon research, where you would have 6 legs to walk on that or on other planets. And that was a fantastic work that was happening there. Now, this work was transferred, again, starting with Bob McGee, into artificial leg, and that's the time when also I started participating, and many from the electrical engineering started participating. So this is coming from a show that was on a TV in 1984, but the actual recordings are from 1981, and this is me in the corner there with a good friend of mine, Professor Schwertli, who unfortunately died recently, who was a great help in that. So this is the first active artificial leg, which operates on finite state control. Everything is in the leg. It's a completely self-contained machine in 1979. So you could imagine what kind of work you have to do with computers at that time to make that to be self-contained, that you have a battery and everything else. Tomović was a pioneer in many things, including writing books that no one else would touch. So he, with some colleagues, proposed and wrote books that no one else wanted to do on nonlinear systems, on theory of sensitivity. There is a book that he wrote with Walter Karplus, which was selected as one of the 50 best books in the 20th century. And I'm most proud about something that I also contributed. This is the book which is here, Non-Analytical Methods for Motor Control. That's the first book where someone is arguing that if you want to control an exoskeleton or an artificial leg or machines, then you need to use different principles than mechanics only. So mechanics is important, but you have to use other principles as well. That's Raјka Tomovиć, and one image that was taken in the town of Dubrovnik when he was attending a conference with the nice hair. And what I want to show you here is he has a very well planned and organized day. So his organization of day was the following. On Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he was rowing. On Tuesday, Thursday, between 8 and 10, he was playing tennis. So doesn't matter what kind of weather is there, that's what he will be doing. So that's important. So being fit is important. You're not fit, you can't do many things. Then he comes home, takes a shower, sits in front of his wonderful music, listens to music. This is his gramophone. That's actually a picture from his home. He puts either the headphones because he doesn't want to be disturbed, and he reads books. That's very much like people do today. People use books and they read from them. They never use phones and other things to get any information out of it. So finally, if he decides at 2 o'clock, there's his working day, and he will call meetings. And these meetings will take place at the university, and he will have meetings back to back, meeting with different people, giving ideas. He would never, ever wait for anyone. If he has a meeting at 5 o'clock, and you are there at 2 minutes past 5, he's gone. And you say, but you know, I was late. He says, I know that you've been late. And you're late forever. So there was no repetition. He was extremely at time, never accepting anything to do. He had other hobbies. He played music. He played a little guitar. He had a piano, which was not very well tuned, at home, and he played that. He liked to swim. He was a terrible swimmer, but succeeded every time to go out of the water. When we are with this, I should tell you another story because I have time for that still. So when the first meeting that he organized in the series of external control of human extremities in Opatija in 1962, one of the guests was Norbert Wiener. Norbert Wiener, who had a figure which is similar to mine, a little bigger than I am, decided to go to swim, and there was a terrible weather. So he went to swim, and he couldn't get out of the water. And the waves started hitting him on stones. So if saving brigade, which was led by Tomowicz, didn't assist him, this would be the last day of Norbert Wiener. So he decided that that's a good thing to know to swim, because otherwise the waves can kill you. So he did that. He had a sailing boat on Ada Ciganli in Belgrade. He had no clue how to sail. But he will find someone who knows how to sail, and he would enjoy in watching and giving advices. What is nice, and you can enjoy it. So he loved water, he loved Ada Ciganli, he loved to have a life, but he invested an enormous amount of time into reading literature, good literature, talking to people, bringing his ideas, and doing things that should be there. So this is my short presentation about Tomowicz, which I thought he deserves at the beginning. And I'll just present you what is our program. So Zoran Petrovic opened the session, and then I gave a short presentation. And at 10 o'clock, which is in 5 minutes, after a short break, I will be talking actually about something that is Tomovicz's contribution. And then Andrea Davella, our friend from Rome, sitting here in first row, who is an expert in motor control. He will be telling us about new perspectives for the motor control movement. Then there will be a coffee break. And after the coffee break, we go to something which I would put into a neuroscience or neurocontrol part, where Michael Nietzsche will talk about optimal transcranial direct current stimulation. And then we will have Igor Nikolic sitting here in front row, who will be talking about invasive neuromodulation in treatment of pain and spasticity. Natalie Bratter sitting next to him there. She is coming from now Germany, but she was in Denmark for a long time, originally also from Germany. So she will be talking about induction of neural plasticity in humans. And this session will be closed by the talk of Ina Tarka, sitting here, professor from Finland, expert in motor control, studies on sensory motor control using magnetic encephalography, magnetoencephalography. Anyway, so after that, we have a lunch, which is free. You pay at the entrance and exit, but other than that, it's free. And then in the afternoon, we have presentations that are more related to Raјko Tomowicz and less to the scientific part, although I'm sure there will be many scientific parts. So Tadej Bajc from Ljubljana, he will be telling us about the friendship between Belgrade and Ljubljana centers, and it was great because there was a colleague that Tomowicz had, Professor Vodovnik, and they were very close, and that actually started things, but that was an extremely fruitful and good collaboration. Professor Srđan Stanković, who joined us a minute ago, We'll be talking about the artificial intelligence, and he'll be telling also a story on where is and what are his connections with Raјka Tomovиќa, which is a long story. Then we will have Raјka Tomovиќa, who is not here at this point, and she will be telling us how she came to the university, what was her relations to Raјka Tomovиќa. Veljko Potkonjak, sitting in the first row, he will be telling us about Belgrade School of Robotics, addressing definitely issues that are related to Miomir Vukobratović, an important member of the academy and a colleague that contributed to some things. And then there will be closing remarks. The fact that some names are underlined and some are not is me. It's not the reason that I didn't want to underline names, but it just happened that I forgot to underline here, Raјka Tomovиќa. Anyway, with this I will close the opening session, and we have 5 minutes break, and then we're going to move to the next presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.